The Philippines, a country made up of more than 7,000 islands, has a really long history. Way before Europeans showed up, Filipinos had already built communities and their own special cultures. We even have proof that people lived there 700,000 years ago. These early Filipinos were great sailors, traders, and artists. They had their own ways of organizing their communities and their own beliefs about the world around them. The Philippines is in a great spot in Southeast Asia, which made it a center for trade. Early Filipinos traded with nearby countries like China, India, and Indonesia. This brought new ideas and cool stuff to the islands, which helped Filipino culture grow. For a long time, Filipinos lived in small groups called barangays, each led by a chief called a datu. These barangays, while separate, would often team up for protection and trade. Early Filipinos didn't write their history down. They told stories and passed them on. They believed in many gods and respected nature. This love for nature shaped how they lived. Their skills in weaving, pottery, and metalwork showed how creative and talented they were. These things they made tell us a lot about how they lived and what they believed. When Ferdinand Magellan arrived in 1521, everything changed for the Philippines. Magellan was looking for a faster way to get to the Spice Islands, and his trip made Spain notice the Philippines. This started a long time of Spanish rule that changed the Philippines a lot. The Spanish, led by Miguel López de Legazpi, built their first town in Cebu in 1565. Slowly, they took over more islands, even though some Filipinos fought back. The Spanish changed a lot of things. They brought Christianity, which became the main religion for many Filipinos. The Catholic Church became very important in everyday life. The Spanish also changed how the government worked. They got rid of the barangay system and put Spanish leaders in charge. This wasn't fair to many Filipinos, and their old ways of life were sometimes forgotten. The Spanish also brought new crops and ways of farming. This made the Philippines focus on growing things like tobacco and sugar to sell. They also started the galleon trade, a big trade route between Manila and Acapulco in Mexico. This made Spain rich, but it also meant the Philippines depended on just one trading partner. Filipino art and buildings started to mix Filipino and Spanish styles. Big churches, often built by Filipinos who were forced to work, became important landmarks. These buildings remind us of this complicated time in history. After centuries of Spanish rule, Filipinos wanted their freedom. When 3 Filipino priests, Mariano Gomez, Jose Burgos, and Jacinto Zamora, were killed in 1872, people were very angry. This became a big reason why Filipinos started to fight for independence. Inspired by new ideas about freedom and angry about unfair treatment, Filipinos started to organize. Secret groups like the Katipunan, led by Andres Bonifacio, wanted to fight for freedom. In 1896, the Philippine Revolution began. Filipinos from all over joined the fight, showing they were united and ready to be free. There were many battles between Filipinos and the Spanish. Even though they didn't have as many weapons, Filipinos fought bravely and won some important battles. This gave them hope for a free country. Heroes like Jose Rizal, a writer who wanted peaceful change, and Andres Bonifacio, who led the fight, became very important. Filipinos still remember what they did for their country. The revolution was hard, with good times and bad times. Fighting among Filipinos and the strong Spanish army made things difficult, but the dream of a free Philippines kept them going. In 1898, the Spanish-American War ended, and Spain gave the Philippines to the United States. This meant the Philippines was ruled by another country, not by its own people. Filipinos had already declared their independence from Spain, so they fought against the Americans too. This war was very sad, and many Filipinos died. It showed that even though America talked about freedom, they didn't always act that way. Even though things were hard, Filipinos never stopped wanting to rule themselves. The United States started to give Filipinos more control over their own government. Filipinos wrote their own constitution and created their own ways of governing. In 1935, the Commonwealth of the Philippines was created, a big step toward becoming fully independent. Then World War II happened, and Japan took over the Philippines. This was another difficult time for Filipinos, but it also made them even more determined to be free. After the war, the United States finally gave the Philippines its independence on July 4, 1946. This was a very important day, the result of many years of fighting and sacrifice. After the war, the Philippines had to rebuild. They had to fix their country and recover from the war. Since then, the Philippines has worked hard to be a democratic country and find its place in the world. The story of the Philippines is a story about how strong and brave its people are. From ancient times to fighting for freedom and becoming a new country, the history of the Philippines is still important today.